My name is Perch Nelson, CEO of Phoenix American Hospitality. It's always been my dream to offer lucrative commercial real estate investing opportunities to every American, not just the top 1%. Today, you can invest in our portfolio of world-class hotel brands like Marriott and Hilton. Our investors are hardworking Americans just like you. Visit Phoenix American Hospitality at PAHinvest.com. Looking forward to helping you create generational wealth.
This podcast of the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs is sponsored by AAA Heating and Air.
The premier HVAC company in the Midlands is growing. Are you a top HVAC technician?
AAA Heating and Air is looking for dedicated applicants to fill their fast-growing service department with top-notch HVAC technicians.
If you're the best, then they want you. If you're ready to stop working and start a career, you can earn up to $100,000 plus a year at AAA Heating and Air.
Quality candidates will have at least 2 years experience and a good driving record. Benefits include top industry salaries, commission on service and unit sales, set call limits, company-provided take-home vehicle and gas card, company-provided cell phone and tablet, health, dental, and vision benefits, 401k retirement plan with company match, and scaled PTO based on length of service.
Contact Roy and Dana Finley at 803-677-1500 or check out their job postings on Facebook or ZipRecruiter.
AAA Air when you need us. AAA Heating and Air.
It's the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, presented by Firehouse Subs, founded by firemen. With Chris Clark.
The 2007 South Carolina class was, at that time, 6th in the country and 4th in the SEC, which is amazing.
Wes Mitchell.
You know, I think if you're South Carolina, you're aiming to at least be at 50%. Then in theory, you're adding talent, you're getting better, you're putting yourself in a position to compete.
And Tyler Head.
It's been a great week for South Carolina. On the recruiting front, still certainly plenty to talk about.
On the home of the Gamecocks, 107.5 The Game.
All right, welcome back into now the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, presented by Firehouse Subs here on 107.5 The Game. Tyler, West, Chris, and Colin been broadcasting all morning here at Firehouse Subs, 2301 Augusta Road, out here in West Columbia at Dreher Plaza, and place is starting to fill up. I stuffed my face with the triple stack during that commercial break. It's absolutely delicious. I don't even like coleslaw, but when you put brisket and a ton of other good stuff on there, it's absolutely fantastic. So come by and see us. Enjoy some delicious Firehouse Subs. We have given away all of our baseball tickets and did just give away the Nick Eamon Worry t-shirt, but again, you can still come hang out, say hello, and enjoy some delicious Firehouse Subs as well. As, again, we're here out here until noon. Now we've officially entered the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour. I mean, this kind of whole show's been that, essentially. But something that's been going on in the world of college sports, particularly this week, the ACC meetings down in Amelia Island in Florida. And we know the SEC a couple of weeks away from theirs down in Destin. But a lot of conversations, as far as the ACC goes, revolving around their media rights deal. And they have this ironclad deal that came about in 2016 because they wanted a network, much like the SEC. So it locked these schools, 14 of them at the time, into this deal until 2036. Well, since then, the SEC's renegotiated its deal. They have the new deal with ESPN. Big 12's renegotiated its deal with ESPN, all making a lot more money than the ACC annually. So ACC schools are looking at being down about $30 million in revenue compared to the other schools in Power 5 conferences on an annual basis. When you look at that over the course of 13 years, you're talking about close to $500 million that the ACC schools are going to be coming up short here. So naturally, they're trying to figure things out and work things around to get more revenue. Doesn't look like it's going to happen, though. And, you know, again, with these ironclad media rights deals, these schools aren't going anywhere. So it's going to be a tough go of it for these ACC schools unless they can figure something out.
Yeah, I certainly see why they are trying to get out of their deal. And, you know, there are, with anything, there are advantages and disadvantages to getting into a long contract like this. For one, if for whatever reason something unforeseen would happen, then, hey, you've got some security there and that you've locked yourself in for all this time. However, you know, if you were going to enjoy the fruits of this security and this long-term contract, it's difficult a few years in to feel bad for them when they're like, well, hey, actually, these other guys are getting more money than us, so we want to renegotiate.
Right.
So, that is a massive number. And as you put it, when you add it up over all that time, and then let's throw in the context that we've been talking about for months now, in that your fan base's financial input is now being split among the school itself, the athletic departments themselves, and the requirement now for them to contribute to NIL through the collectives, because the NCAA has outsourced that, essentially. So that amount of money is important regardless, but it, I think, becomes even more important to not have that, or to have that money, because your revenues are going to potentially be down in terms of your, for example, whatever everybody has, like IPTAY is their Clemson's version of Gamecock Club. Everybody has their in-house booster club, essentially, that they're asking their fans to contribute to.
Think about if you're one of the kind of more of a have-not in like the ACC now, for example, because Alford at Florida State put forth this merit-based revenue distribution model, right? Yep. There's not many great options for ACC schools, right? Their grant of rights is super long. I think it goes for another 13 years.
2036.
They're tied into the ESPN contract. So one of the options is you can go to ESPN and try to get more money. Good luck with that right now, right? As much as they're paying for rights just in general, however you want to break that down, they're paying out gobs of money, billions of dollars, right, for rights to sports. I don't think they're going to say, you know what, you're right, we probably need to pay more.
On that, the SEC is going to have a tough time getting more money out of them, adding Texas and Oklahoma to the conference.
Yeah, and that's the SEC, right?
Yeah.
And them along with the Big Ten have been the two kind of power brokers in college athletics now that everybody else, Pac-12, Big 12, and ACC are chasing. So the other options all involve trying to break the grant of rights, and a lot of people say it's kind of airtight, right?
Yep.
Even if you make that argument and you try and you pay the exit fee, if you can get out of it, it's going to be really, really difficult. But if you go to that merit-based system, you could be losing even more money, right? That you think about like the SEC, for example, how revenues are distributed, how the ACC distributes it right now. You're in the conference, you're in good shape, right?
Sure.
That's why I've always maintained, people say, well, South Carolina should leave the SEC. No, you shouldn't. You get so many benefits, including much more money.
Right.
Now, if you think about the ACC, you might be in a position, if you're not a Clemson or a Florida State, for example, where you're getting even less money, because if you're not performing well, you're not going to get as much.
Well, and that's the thing, too. Clemson's really the only team in the ACC, at least what we've looked at over the past decade, that would benefit from that incentive-based model of, let's just say, and that number's been thrown around, that, okay, if you make the college football playoff, you'll get an extra $10 million. And what? Clemson's made it 5-6 times in the decade that it's been around. Florida State's made it once, and that was in the first year back in 2014. So still, you're talking about them having a significantly less than just Clemson within their own conference. So that can work for certain teams, but other ones, why would Wake Forest sign off on that? Like, man, we know we're not going to make the college football playoff anytime soon, so we're not giving ourselves any more money by doing this.
Well, I think you almost, I guess that's the word for it, you kind of cannibalize your own conference by taking the haves and making it even easier on them, which maybe helps you nationally, but it weakens your entire conference. Because if I'm, let's just say, Virginia Tech, or if I'm Virginia, and Virginia, I think some people have sort of, I guess, projected as one of the worst teams in the ACC this coming year. I'm trying, how do I start my come up if my own conference is saying, not only have you been bad, but we're going to make it even harder on you to climb this ladder. This, to me, is what got the Big 12 in trouble.
Yep.
Was just, Texas got so many breaks, and they had their own network, and nobody else in the conference did. So it really hurts you. So, yes, long-term, would this be really good maybe for a Clemson? Maybe it's good for, I think Florida State, the impression is they're on the come-up right now. Miami, we'll see. But, I think, does it do you that much better as a school to you rise within your conference's rank, but the overall sort of respect of your conference as a whole sort of dips because the teams below you are getting worse, not better, and are in this like perpetual cycle of, well, like there's a reason that the NFL draft puts the worst teams first. Is you're trying to create parity.
Yeah.
And the SEC, yes, Vandy's always going to be locked in towards the bottom most years.
Sure.
But you have this cycle where you have different teams cycling to the top and different teams cycling to the bottom.
And, you know, it's funny that you mentioned Virginia being, and we're just talking about this from a football perspective, being one of the worst teams in the ACC, at least as of right now. You know, there's this perception that if somehow ACC teams were able to break this media rights deal, that Clemson and Florida State would just be getting all these requests from the SEC, the Big Ten, the Big 12 to come join their conference. That's not necessarily the case, specifically with the SEC, because everyone's like, oh, they're the two biggest brands in the ACC. The SEC would love to have them. Not really, because you already have the state of South Carolina with South Carolina. You already have the state of Florida with Florida. Tallahassee and Clemson aren't booming media markets that you're looking to get your feet in. If anything, the top two schools probably getting picked by other conferences, again, assuming they'd be able to get out of the media rights deal, which doesn't look like it would ever happen, would be North Carolina and Virginia. They would be at the top of the list because for the SEC purposes, you have two states that you're not in North Carolina and Virginia. And for the Big Ten purposes, because you have to remember, Big Ten goes after those academic research institutions, both of which North Carolina and Virginia are, and Clemson and Florida State are not.
Well, I think you've always sort of had an unspoken agreement, maybe it's a spoken agreement, between if I'm Florida, if I'm South Carolina, if I, to a lesser extent Georgia. I don't think Georgia Tech has a huge case to be in the SEC, but point being, I'm teaming up. I'm agreeing to vote along the lines, if I'm South Carolina, with a Georgia, with a Florida, to try and keep other teams within our states out of the SEC. Now, the bigger the SEC gets, I don't know what that number is. I know at one point there was enough, I believe I'm saying this right, y'all, don't quote me on it. I believe there was enough numbers where you could join together and have the percentages to keep a Clemson from being in, as long as those teams we're talking about voted together.
Right.
Now, you add more to the number of teams in the conference, that percentage of votes that you have there maybe goes down, so maybe that changes a bit.
Sure.
And, I think when all this first started, it was definitely along TV, regional viewing lines. Now, how do you factor in whether anybody in this town likes it or not? Clemson has become a national brand over the last 5 to 10 years.
Right.
Adding a Florida State, you are adding an additional brand to the table that maybe you didn't have before. College football has become maybe a little bit more of a national sport, whereas I feel like it used to be certainly a regionalized sport. So, I think there's a lot at play here. I also think fans are just tired of this conversation about conference realignment. Like, I feel like we've been talking about conference realignment for 15 years. People are fatigued about it. They're like, stick with the conference. You're already making all this money. We're just tired of hearing about it. So I think that's a factor too. But also, I feel like so much stuff gets leaked about conference realignment that does not end up being correct. Even if it's from good sources, it's more people, it's like the CIA or something. It's like people are leaking stuff for specific purposes at times.
There's a reason behind it. You see that a lot. And, for the SEC, if you don't need to expand for some reason, you're not going to do it just for the heck of it.
Sure.
And Greg Sankey's talked about this. He is taking some shots, actually, at the Big Ten. Not in a very like a rude way, but he's taking some little jabs because, UCLA and Southern Cal going to the Big Ten. So now you're stretching the geographic footprint of the Big Ten, which is, we've talked about the SEC and the Big Ten. People are kind of looking at them as the Big Two, right? But even the Big Ten, you got from Los Angeles to New Jersey.
Yes.
Right? And Greg Sankey's pointed out, actually, that when the SEC expands, the longest trip for those schools is going to be from Columbia, South Carolina, right here where we are, to Austin.
Yep.
That's going to be the longest trip. The LA schools, their shortest trip that's not right across is going to be longer than that.
Yeah, what, Nebraska maybe? That'd be the shortest trip, I think.
I don't think that's a short. I've never taken a plane from L.A.
I mean, you're going from the West Coast to the Midwest, so.
Yeah.
I have a hypothetical here.
Oh.
If you're South Carolina, the league is more than likely going to 9 league games. We all assume, correct?
Hopefully.
The league is more than likely going to 9 league games. If you're South Carolina, you're still going to play the Clemson series, right, every year. Would it not be beneficial? I know no South Carolina fan's going to be like, we want Clemson in the SEC. We want to give them that SEC check. But if Clemson joined the SEC, that would be one of your 9.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have to worry about having to play Clemson out of conference anymore, which would open up one more non-conference game for you to, for lack of a better term, schedule a team and pad a win total more than anything else.
That's true, and I know the Big Ten's exploring dropping the requirement for their teams to have to play a Power 5 opponent outside of their conference schedule, because again, when you go to 12-team playoff, you're not really having to impress the committee as much anymore. No. So you don't need that game to, pad your resume or whatever it is. But if that were ever a situation where Clemson were to join the SEC, why not go out there and schedule an FCS team and 2 group of 5s to guarantee yourself 3 wins?
And even in an expanded playoff, 1 loss isn't really a death sentence. Heck, 2 losses as an SEC team won't really be a death sentence.
10-2 SEC team, I can almost guarantee you're getting in the 12-team playoff.
Right. So it's not as daunting a thing anymore, but, if you're South Carolina, you certainly would like to play the Jacksonville States of the world more than anything else. All
right, again, broadcasting live from Firehouse Subs 2301 Augusta Road here in Dreher Plaza in West Columbia. Before we hit this break, though, I want to let them know about our friends over at Amy Mason Cup State Farm for being a great supporter of our show.
Yeah, we appreciate our friends at Amy Mason Cup State Farm. And, hey, if you are a small business owner in the Midlands, you got to think about everything you need to help your business succeed. A plan, happy customers, steady cash flow, and, of course, an insurance agent that gets you. State Farm agent Amy Mason Cup also runs a small business right here in the Midlands. Her office is at 612 St. Andrews Road at Ashland Park Plaza. That's right off of I-26. And so Amy understands the unique needs that you have as a local business owner. Amy Mason Cup State Farm will make it easy to choose the right protection at the right price because, of course, one thing you do not need is insurance stress. I've worked with Amy Mason Cup State Farm with my family. Her team is absolutely phenomenal. Give her a call, 803-772-5554, or visit her website, amymasoncup.com. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
More from Firehouse Subs after this on 107.5 The Game.
It's the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour. Presented by Firehouse Subs. Founded by firemen with Chris Clark, Wes Mitchell, and Tyler Head. On your home of the Gamecocks. 107.5 The Game.
All right, and welcome back into the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs here on 107.5 The Game. Hanging out here at the Firehouse Subs, 2301 Augusta Road in West Columbia, out here at Dreher Plaza. Been out here all morning long. We've given away baseball tickets. We gave away the Nicky Minori shirt. Tons of fun all morning long, and of course, have been enjoying some delicious Firehouse Subs as well. And now the owner of these Firehouse Subs across the Midlands, Larry Chandler, joining us now. Larry, as always, thank you so much for allowing us to be out here.
Well, thanks for coming. We always enjoy it, that's for sure.
Yeah, Larry, this is God's honest truth. I was starving last night. I ate my supper too early. I was starving, and I was like, nah, not gonna eat anything else because I know we're gonna have a buffet of Firehouse Subs for early lunch today. Yeah. So we appreciate that as always. I've been changing my top on my personal list. New York Steamer has made a steady push towards the top spot. Wow. It's fighting with brisket.
Wow.
The briskets. Yeah. Brisket was 1. Mm-hmm. New York Steamer, though, it's up there now.
Yeah, it has gone from Wes had never had it, like as of a few weeks ago, to now it's like number 1. And I'm staring at the triple stack, which Tyler enjoyed for the first time. Yeah. Tyler, your review?
That was fantastic. I was telling him I don't even like coleslaw, but that was amazing.
That's the mark of a good sandwich, right? You don't even like one of the ingredients and it's still good. That is outstanding stuff. But Larry, we were talking about before you came on,
You're hoping to make it over. I know you've been busy lately, but you're trying to make it over to game 1 or game 2?
Probably game 2, definitely.
Okay, game 2.
Yeah,
you got to do some work during the day.
For baseball, right?
For baseball. Yep. I should have added that context. But thoughts lately on the South Carolina baseball team and just the importance of this weekend?
I think it's, we were talking earlier about baseball. It's a momentum and who gets hot at the right time. And, we the last few weeks have been kind of tough. But, baseball can turn around very quickly. So we have some really good things happen this weekend and get good momentum going into the tournament and then into the regionals. You never know. Baseball is a funny game. So, we just had some tough luck and the injuries, of course, and then we just kind of lost our momentum a little bit. But every baseball team during the season goes through a little bit of slump. But of course, you definitely want to get out of it this weekend. Hopefully, I know the team does for sure.
Larry, we were talking before as well. I know you're a big Celtics fan.
Yeah.
Right. So I believe 8:30 tonight, TNT. That's game 2.
Right.
Celtics and Heat. You got to see game 1 in person, right?
Yeah. I was up there for a meeting and we went to the game 1. Unfortunately, the Celtics lost, but it was a great atmosphere. It's crazy. Boston fans are passionate, obviously, like a lot of teams' fans, but great atmosphere. A lot of energy, and just too bad we lost. But hopefully tonight they'll make a comeback.
So you're gonna have that one on your phone while you're at the baseball game?
Yeah. I got to watch both of them in same time.
How did you become a Celtics fan?
I have no idea. Since I was a kid, started pulling for Boston teams, and I'd never been to Boston until I ran the first Boston Marathon there, and that I did, and I felt like I'd been there before. It's just a weird thing, but I pulled for the Celtics. The Bruins, I'm not a big hockey fan, but I followed them in the standings. And then, of course, the Red Sox. We were supposed to go to the Red Sox game the other night, but then the Celtics game showed up. And then, so it's just interesting. I don't pull for the Patriots. I'm a Green Bay Packer fan. Again, that goes back from the kid watching the game.
We appreciate that.
Sorry. Boston, by the way, if you've never been there, it is just one of the greatest cities. I mean, in my opinion, it's absolutely phenomenal. History, so much to do, and obviously the sports. I went there, only Red Sox game I've ever been to. Went to Fenway when we were there in the spring. It was awesome. Steve Pierce was playing for the Red Sox. Jackie Bradley Jr. was playing at the time. Pierce had like a Sports Center top 10 play, and Jackie Bradley hit a homer in his first at bat. So
it was because you were there.
Because I was there. Couldn't have done much better than that on the trip.
Now, have you done Fenway?
Oh, yeah, definitely. It's to me, I know I sound biased, but it's the best baseball park to me. And one time they were talking about tearing it down like Yankee Stadium, but thank God they didn't. It's an icon, and they've done some remodeling. And it's a great place to watch a baseball game and so forth. My brother's a Yankee fan. We've taken him there. That was the first time we'd actually seen Yankee Red Sox game that we actually beat the Yankees last August. I think it was like 6 games they beat us bad. It wasn't a close game, so we got that monkey off our back. So
now, does that get hostile between you and him?
No, I mean, he gives me a hard time. I mean, he rubs it in. I mean, I got to take it when you get beat 10-1 or whatever. What are you going to do? But I did give him a little bit back last year in Fenway, so it was good. So
there's something nostalgic about the fact that they still run the scoreboard by hand.
Yeah.
Like I don't know what it is, but in that sometimes on ESPN they'll go down and they'll give you that view from the little window out of the scoreboard. I don't really know what it is. Like I can't put it into words. There's something just weirdly special about that. It's like Americana kind of vibe.
And then the food comes from, they're cooking food on the street and it's floating into the stadium too while you're watching the game. It's just phenomenal.
Yeah, I feel like, and I'm probably going to leave some out, but I feel like going to Fenway, you got to go, and you got to go to Wrigley.
Yeah.
Like those are the two you got to make, and I've been fortunate enough to do both. Those are awesome.
Is Wrigley the only other place that does the hand scoring as well? I think it is.
I don't know that.
I don't know that for a fact, but it sure seems like that is the case. So, all right, back to Carolina baseball.
Yeah.
Larry, are we winning this weekend? We had Kendall Walsh on yesterday. She promised a Carolina win this weekend.
And a sweep.
I think, I'd like a sweep, but at least get 2 out of 3 and play really well, sound baseball, good defense. And the pitching, obviously that's get some good pitching and really good games. And, just get the confidence back. I think that's the key. And, I've got confidence in them. They're going to turn it around. And, it's a good weekend to start. And a sweep would be awesome. So.
We had an opportunity to get somebody you've gotten to know pretty well on the Garnet Trust Hour last week. I think that was right, Tyler. Tony Annan, the head coach of the men's soccer team. Tell us about what you've seen from him. You followed Carolina sports a long time. You've seen a lot of coaches come through, but just give us your thoughts on what he's doing with the soccer program and where you see him going with this team.
Yeah, I think his first year trying to get acclimated and who he had, and but he's got so many connections around not only here but internationally, and I think he's going to get some really good players, difference makers. I think I can see him, and not trying to put pressure on him, I can see him really getting around the national championship down the road in a few years, if not sooner. But I think he's got the mentality to do it, and I think we're fortunate to have him, especially with his connections. So he's going to win. He's a competitor, so he's going to take care of it.
And a phenomenal accent as well.
Oh, yeah. Of course.
The best voice. I mean,
great voice.
If I was a soccer recruit, which I've never played soccer a day in my life, but I'm signing up for that guy. Like, listening to him talk, I'm like, I'm in. I don't know what you need me to do, but we're doing this. I'm in.
Yeah, and he has great stories and great jokes. I mean, and some I'm sure he can't say on the air, but
absolutely,
he's a good dude. We're fortunate to have him, but he's always fun to be around, and you can see why players would want to come play with him. So.
Larry, did you hear your Juice Wells shout out on Gamecock Central Takeover a few weeks ago?
Oh yeah, definitely, 100%. Yeah,
we made sure to send that to him.
Yeah.
So Juice today on 3 came out top 100 players in the country. Yeah. Juice number 2 wide receiver in the SEC. Obviously, he had a huge year last year. Should have a massive year this year too.
Yeah, Juice is my man. He's going to have a great year. I can't wait to see what he does this year. He's a difference maker, and we're again another player we're fortunate to have, and he could have gone a lot of places. So he's going to have a super year.
I attribute that success to the turkey bacon ranch, which he said was also his favorite sandwich.
Oh, of course.
So,
definitely. That makes a big difference.
It absolutely does. Well, Larry, thank you for hanging out with us for a few minutes, and of course, thank you so much for letting us be out here and hang out at your store today. Free food as well.
Again,
yes.
I can't tell you how much I appreciate y'all and what y'all do for us, and it's awesome. So thank you.
All right, got to run into a timeout. That was Larry Chandler, the owner of the Firehouse Subs here at 2301 Augusta Road in West Columbia. We'll be back with more on the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, presented by Firehouse Subs on 107.
On Florida's Space Coast, we think you can have the best of both worlds. Kind of like right now. Driving, at your desk, maybe at the gym, but you're also grooving to some music. Visit us and you'll go to the beach and see a rocket launch. Or go kayaking and manatee spotting. It's all waiting for you on the only beach that doubles as a launch pad. Plan your adventure today at visitspacecoast.com.
Five the game. All right, and welcome back into the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, presented by Firehouse Subs here on 107.5 Game. Tyler, Wes, Chris, and Colin hanging out here at Firehouse Subs, 2301 Augusta Road here in West Columbia. A few more minutes to go, broadcasting until noon. Been out here all morning long. I've got a stack of napkins here from all the sandwiches that I've eaten, because any good sandwich is going to be messy. And between the barbecue sauce of the triple stack and the ranch of the turkey bacon ranch, I've made quite a mess, but it's all been very delicious.
Yeah, you had the vinaigrette or whatever they call it that's on the steamer too. Outstanding stuff. Good stuff from Larry Chandler too.
No, absolutely.
Always has a good sports in sandwich mixture there. So I always love having him.
Absolutely. And just because we're leaving at 12 doesn't mean you can't stop by the Firehouse Subs. Obviously open all day long, and come by and get the sub of the day, the Jamaican jerk turkey for today, and chow down, enjoy it, and maybe before you head over to Founders Park for a very long day of baseball.
Yeah, and we still got a few rally towels here.
Yeah, got some rally towels. Giving away all of our baseball tickets. We gave away the Nicky Memori T-shirt. Do have some rally towels if you can get here in the next couple of minutes while we are still broadcasting. I wanted to talk about this for a minute while we can here. This was something that was tweeted out yesterday in reference to ESPN, and we know that cable television's changed a lot. Just over the past decade, with everything going more and more to streaming, and the common thought is that live sports has really been propping up the cable sports company, or the cable TV companies, for a long time, because a lot of people still get it specifically so they can watch their favorite teams play sports. ESPN is looking at a streaming exclusive model. Now, we don't have a lot of details on this. Again, it's just conversation at this point, but it seems like there's going to be a day on the horizon where you can just say, hey, all I want is ESPN, their family of networks, and you pay $10 or $15 for it. You don't have to worry about all the other channels you're not interested in, the Travel Channel, History Channel, whatever it may be. You might soon be able to finally just get sports.
Never happen.
You don't think so?
Not for $10 or $15 a month.
Okay, maybe a little bit more than that.
And then a little bit more than that, and then a little bit more than that.
Well, you think like $40 a month to get all the ESPN channels?
That's my question is, what do you get? Because right now you have Plus.
Yeah.
Which you like, if you want to watch a game that's on regular ESPN, you can't get it with just a Plus subscription.
Yeah.
It is only Plus specific content.
So it's probably going to be tiered with all the add-ons. Is that what you're thinking?
I guess. I mean, I'm thinking, all right, standalone ESPN service in my head that can replace all the ESPN channels I get with cable or, Hulu, YouTube TV, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
That package, I'm thinking $50 at minimum.
They can probably charge, I don't want to say anything they want, but
so
you could get up there.
Let's think about it like this. Like and streaming television's a lot cheaper than like DirecTV cable or something like that. But most like streaming TV packages now are in like that $70 to $80 range. So if you're doing the ESPN thing at $50, you're still flying it under what a normal streaming TV package would be.
Yeah, but you're basically saying I don't want any other channels.
Right.
That's the only way it makes financial sense.
And what ESPN, you have ESPN, ESPN2, U, News, SEC Network, ACC Network. Am I leaving any out?
Probably, but I don't know that they matter.
Yeah.
Really, you want ESPN, you want ESPN2, and then you want whichever like if you're an SEC fan, you want SEC Network, AC. So that to me is the package that you want. So the way those cable packages are structured, the cable company is obviously paying a lot more for the rights to ESPN.
Yes.
And their bundle than they are for every single, literally, other channel. So some of what you're paying for is kind of subsidized, I guess, by the fact that these other channels are less per channel, but they're kind of getting thrown in.
Right.
Whereas there's a lot at play here, because I think the one thing that saves live TV right now in any structure is live sports.
Yes.
Like, that's the one thing that keeps people, because on demand makes no sense in terms of live sports. So it is so valuable right now. But I feel like the amount they're going to have to charge, as long as it's butting up to where, if I could pay $80 for the full package versus $50 for ESPN, like, I might just pay the extra $20 to get all the channels. I think this will be potentially very disruptive to the entire thing. Or the more you look at it, the more it really truly depends on what price point they can get it at. And ESPN does not want to eat into what they're getting from the cable systems providers that are left as well. So if you completely undercut, are you undercutting yourself?
Sure. And that's something we have to remember when it comes to cable TV, that, I don't know, let's say a package has 120 channels. You're paying something for every single one of those channels. If you never watch ESPN, you're still paying $4 or $5 every single month specifically for ESPN. That's where the money ends up going, whether you watch that channel or not. So this is talking about specifically only giving the customer just ESPN channels for one set price. And like you said, they don't want to undercut themselves by losing the revenue from DirecTV or Dish Network or whatever it may be, by not having as many people subscribing and paying that fee, even if they don't watch ESPN.
Yeah, so there's a lot at play. There's a lot behind the scenes that we probably don't even get the complete picture on at all. I follow this guy on Twitter, TV Answer Man. He has an entire website on stuff just like this. And he's sort of quoted basically like, yeah, I think so. The Wall Street Journal had the original report on this, I think, and he was basically like, okay, tell me something we don't know. Obviously, ESPN is looking into this.
Sure.
They would be ignorant not to.
Right.
But he was basically like, call me when something is actually happening. So how far are we away from, hey, this is something that we are doing due diligence on, this is something we're working on, versus this is something that is actually happening. Is it feasible? Are there things involved here that we're not thinking about that make the pie, so to speak, of money coming in work out the way it has to for ESPN to turn a profit? Although I do think ESPN, they seem to be, under their current management, trying to take a step forward into the next age of sports content. Look at the Pat McAfee deal, adding him. I believe that's still going to be on YouTube as well, at least at the beginning.
Well, if it's going to be uncensored, it needs to be.
Yeah, going to have to be. But, so, I say all that to say, we'll see.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, Shannon Terry, On3 founder, former Rivals founder, 24/7 founder, he commented on this actually and pointed out, as you said, Wes, Pat McAfee, Jimmy Pitaro, who used to be at Yahoo, has been at ESPN, has overseen a lot of growth. Obviously ESPN owns live sports, and so the amount, yes, they're paying a lot out in rights, but if you're watching live sports, who are you thinking about? Aside from the big name cable networks, you're thinking about ESPN, and now getting, like Wes said, into that next level, the direct-to-consumer, the streaming part of it. We've already seen that with ESPN Plus, which has continued to grow, not exponentially, right, but it has continued to grow its subscriber count. Even I think they have 25 million or so just on ESPN Plus. So continuing to make moves that are forward-thinking. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with this.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's just kind of one of those conversations that's always ongoing as the, needs for consumers and the landscape of television continues to change. But if there was ever a day where, big cable companies didn't have ESPN anymore, then, they're always going to.
On Florida's Space Coast, we think you can have the best of both worlds. Kind of like right now. Driving, at your desk, maybe at the gym, but you're also grooving to some music. Visit us and you'll go to the beach and see a rocket launch. Or go kayaking and manatee spotting. It's all waiting for you on the only beach that doubles as a launch pad. Plan your adventure today at visitspacecoast.com.
Have it to some degree. All right, welcome back into the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Here on 107.5 Game, Tyler, West, Chris, and Colin hanging out at Firehouse Subs, 2301 Augusta Road here in West Columbia. Only a few more minutes ago. We've been out here all morning long, have had some delicious sandwiches, got to meet some folks, gave away some baseball tickets, gave away some T-shirts, a lot of fun stuff been going on this morning. And again, thank you so much to Larry Chandler for allowing us to be out here. Guys, these past 2 days being on location, we haven't really dove much into recruiting, but I know we're keeping our eyes on some running backs in these next couple of cycles.
Yeah. It's been a hot topic of conversation in Gamecocks country. If you have not visited GamecockCentral.com's Insiders Forum, you should, because there's a lot of folks talking about it over there. Transfer portal stuff, right? South Carolina did get a transfer portal running back again. Wes pointed out, it's very good observation that they did get Mario Anderson out of the portal. He went through spring practice, seems like a long time ago, but they needed another one. Haven't gotten another one out of the portal. And that kind of has people looking towards 2024, right? We know that's going to be a critical cycle for the Gamecocks. They really are eyeing and need, so it makes sense, 2 running backs, right, out of that group. And so there's several on the board. I think one of them, Wes, looks like he's probably going to be off the board sooner than later. You look at Peyton Lewis from Salem, Virginia, the 4-star running back. Tennessee and South Carolina have been high on his list. The Vols, last time he visited there, really seemed to capture the momentum, and it seems like that is probably his next destination. He's looking at committing before the month of May is out. And so I think that turns a lot of eyes towards another guy that's been on the board for a long time. That's Daniel Hill from Meridian, Mississippi.
Yeah, Daniel Hill, a guy that's been right up there. I think those are two we've been tracking kind of for the longest in terms of we always look for that mutual interest, right? Mutual interest markers. And so there's been heavy mutual interest on both sides. Daniel Hill has talked about South Carolina publicly. You don't even always see this as often anymore, calling them his leader. And actually, Chris, I don't know if I've posted this yet. I'm working on some stuff. But South Carolina, I believe, was by to see Hill by his school yesterday. So at least some point this week. Stabs are still out visiting high schools. And he's a top target. He's going to official visit for South Carolina in June. That's one of those where they're going to try to close it out. It's obviously a big, big priority for them to do so. Alabama has been strongly in the mix to the point that there is an Alabama prediction early on. But, South Carolina right in there with Daniel Hill. I do think they would like to take two. I don't think they would like to take two. I know they would like to take two. I think the guy to keep an eye on now, again, mutual interest sort of intersection there, Matthew Fuller, who is a somewhat new offer. And he's from Wayne County in Georgia, where Tyler's from. Where is Jessup?
That
Georgia?
Is down in South Georgia.
So that's not even actually Georgia.
Yeah, you're getting close to Florida.
Okay, well, that's where he's from. Pretty new Gamecock offer. First SEC offer for him. But may have some news on him soon. And I think South Carolina in a position to probably make a pretty big move there. I think the early indications as far as his reaction to that offer, very positive for South Carolina.
And the Gamecock tie-in, of course, having J-Bo Shaw, Connor Shaw's brother, is his high school coach, and a guy that they seem to really like. We're also, Wes, still doing some tracking of Anthony Carey in Florida. He remains on the board as well. We know that Daniel Hill, Wes, for a long time has been a guy that they really, really want, right? He's an athlete. He plays some receiver also at the high school level, but South Carolina, Jody Wright, Monterio Hardesty have been recruiting him for a long time. They've had him on campus. Tennessee, who has overtaken the lead for Peyton Lewis, supposed to host Daniel Hill, I believe it's next weekend. I got a little bit more on GamecockCentral.com and the Insider Report right now if you want to go check that out. But there's no doubt that they need to walk away with a couple backs in this class.
Yeah, and I would say, Chris, probably a couple of other guys out there that fans can pay attention to. But, for the most part, it's that handful of guys plus Braylon Russell, who is from Arkansas. He is on the board. That one kind of, I felt like came a little bit out of nowhere as far as us tracking it. But he's on the board for a June 2nd official visit. That's been the case, I don't know, maybe a month or so. But another guy just to keep an eye on, I think. Do you have any feel or word on who his favorites might be? I know he's got the public top
Braylon Russell, yeah. I mean, it's interesting because right now he doesn't have an official set to Arkansas. That doesn't mean he's not going to take one, right? He's doing all his officials in the month of June. Used to be committed to Arkansas, from Arkansas, Benton, Arkansas. So you figure West, they're definitely still in the mix. Baylor is another school. South Carolina right now scheduled to get an early June official. Baylor the weekend after. Definitely I'll still throw Arkansas in there. In Tennessee, actually, Wes, still recruiting Braylon Russell as well.
They run the triple option now?
Apparently so. They're just recruiting all the guys that South Carolina is too. So they're probably going to get Braylon Russell in for a June official too. So a lot, and that's what I was writing about this morning. There's actually been a lot of carryover between the Vols and the Gamecocks with the running back recruiting board.
Weird.
It has been weird. But, Russell's interesting. Dowell Loggins, right, that recruited him when he was at Arkansas. There's some familiarity. He's obviously, he's considering Midwest schools, his home state, Arkansas, Baylor, which is in Texas, of course. But he's also looking east. He's looking at Tennessee. He's looking at South Carolina. So I think that's one we'll know a lot more after the visit. Certainly any back that comes on campus, they're going to have a great story to tell as far as the depth chart and the potential for playing time.
All right, that'll do it for today's edition of the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Thank you so much once again to Larry Chandler and everybody here at Firehouse Subs at 2301 Augusta Road in West Columbia for having us out here. We'll be back on Monday. Halftime show with Jay and Terry coming up next on 107.5 The Game.
Your pharma and biotech company deserves a packaging solution provider that protects the safety of parenteral drugs. Are you looking for a trusted partner? For over 100 years, Datwyler has been the leading developer of high-quality materials. Their quality by design approach in manufacturing elastomeric components has a proven track record for meeting regulatory demands while improving patient outcomes. With their latest innovation, UltraShield, you can safely store innovative drugs. The path to patient safety starts with Datwyler.